Today in the United States, polio is a distant memory. It was wiped out here in 1979. But worldwide eradication of the disease is proving elusive, even though billions of dollars have been spent during 2 decades of vaccination campaigns. Polio is still killing or crippling hundreds of children in small pockets of Africa and South Asia every year. And recently, there's been another setback in the fight against this terrible disease, an unintended fallout stemming from one of America's greatest intelligence triumphs. The slums of Pakistan's commercial capital, Karachi, are crowded, filthy, and deadly. There are about 5 violent murders here each day. But lurking in the city's primitive sewers is another killer altogether, the polio virus. Millions of people live and work on these streets, including Usman. He's a father of 4 who scrapes by working at an auto parts shop. It may not look like much, but it's a job he says he's lucky to have because Usman had polio.
तो इसकी वजह से तकलीफ तो है, रीढ़ की हड्डी पे इंसान को दर्द होता है। मुझे पता है कि माजूर को क्या होता है ना, तो रीढ़ की हड्डी पे तकलीफ होता है, सीने में इंसान को दर्द होता है। तो मेरी वालदा भी यहाँ है, मगर इस घर में नहीं है, ये घर छोटा है मेरे।
The polio virus in its most severe form attacks the spinal cord and can cause paralysis of the lungs and legs. The disease festers in the human waste that flows unchecked through these streets and right past Usman's front door. He knows that his own children are at risk from the poor sanitation. But helping those children and everyone at risk for polio are some very experienced and brave healthcare workers who risk their lives on the mean streets of Karachi every day.
And how many children she had yesterday?
Dr. Elias Duri runs the World Health Organization's polio vaccination efforts in Pakistan. Originally from Ethiopia, Duri has been conquering the polio virus in countries across the globe for more than 20 years. He successfully eliminated polio from hotspots such as Sudan, Yemen, and Somalia. And now he has Pakistan in his crosshairs.
She has total number of children here.
We accompanied Dr. Duri and local doctors on some house calls.
You have people who are living, not a shanty house, but in a housing developments that are no basic health service and cramped in the same place. And this is where the virus really has, a much better environment for it to just keep replicating.
Last year saw just 223 cases of polio worldwide. The vast majority of them in 3 chaotic and poorly governed countries: Nigeria, Afghanistan, and here in Pakistan.
If there is any country or any district or any place that remains, with the circulation of the virus, nowhere in the world we will be safe.
There is a safe, inexpensive, and effective polio vaccine that can protect children, even if their playground is the trash-strewn streets of Karachi's slums. This is what the fight against polio looks like in Pakistan. Hundreds of thousands of workers methodically go door to door, urging parents to vaccinate their children. If they agree, all it takes is just 2 drops of the vaccine placed in the child's mouth. Once vaccinated, the child's finger is marked with ink. If the parents refuse, the health workers mark the door with a special symbol in chalk and vow to return. Other workers collect samples from the open sewers. The vials are sent to a state-of-the-art lab in the capital, Islamabad, and screened for polio. The lab, which was built with donations from around the world, also tests samples from suspected victims. It's all part of a global effort to rid Pakistan of the crippling virus. But Dr. Drury's hopes of a polio-free Pakistan were checked in the past 2 years when parents suddenly started refusing the polio vaccine for their children.
They didn't want to vaccinate.
We are from WHO just to make sure that you know what is important. Could you please tell them why we are here?
Drury says the impoverished people have always been suspicious of vaccination campaigns, long rumored to be Western plots to harm Muslims.
इसमें अमेरिकन पॉलिसी नहीं है ये. कोई नहीं हमारे बच्चों को अपाहिज होने से बचाने के लिए वैक्सीन पिलाने आ रहे हैं आपके घर पे.
And the vaccination campaigns in Pakistan came to a screeching halt in 2011.
The death of the most wanted man in the world, Osama bin Laden.
After the midnight raid on Osama bin Laden's walled compound. Everyone knows what happened in Abbottabad, but it's what the CIA did before the deadly raid that has people in Pakistan talking.
As part of the operation I'm about to get intelligence on bin Laden, there was a failed operation to use hepatitis B vaccination program to uncover evidence of DNA from the bin Laden family in Abbottabad. The news of the operation leaked, and the story that the CIA had used a vaccination campaign spread like wildfire across the region.
Charles Kenny is a senior fellow at the Center for Global Development and a former World Bank economist. He studies the effects and consequences of foreign aid, including vaccination campaigns. Kenny says millions have been poured into eradicating polio and correcting the myths and lies of Western meddling. But all those efforts were erased in an instant when the U.S. government decided to use a vaccination campaign as cover to gather DNA samples from the Abbottabad compound. That was an effort to confirm bin Laden's family was inside. But the plot had serious consequences.
So over the last few months we've seen thousands of individual parents take the decision not to get their kids vaccinated because they think it's part of a CIA plot.
Excuse me, and it was a fact the CIA had used this.
Nobody has come out in public and said, yes, the CIA regularly uses vaccination campaigns as part of intelligence gathering. But senior government officials in the US have said, yes, this was part of an attempt to get information related to bin Laden in Abbottabad.
Execute. Americans heard the story of the fake vaccination plot when the CIA scheme was dramatized in the Academy Award-nominated movie Zero Dark 30.
We started a vaccination program. Sent a doctor to the house, see if he could pull blood.
Back in Pakistan, the story of the CIA's fake vaccination program reached polio victim Usman, almost 1,000 miles away in Karachi.
माल रहा था एबटाबाद के इलाके में और उन्होंने इस तरह करके इस ऑपरेशन को सर अंजाम दिया तो लोग घबरा गए कि पोलियो में ये लोग आके हमसे मालूमात लेते हैं.
So Usman, who had allowed his other 3 children to be vaccinated, turned away the polio health workers when they came to inoculate his 2-year-old son Musharraf. Soon after, Musharraf woke crying and couldn't stand, and his father's fears were soon confirmed. His youngest son had polio. It was the first polio case in Pakistan this year.
अफसोस तो इतना हुआ कि कोई इंतहा नहीं है. ये तो होता है कि अगर मैं कराता है इसको वैक्सीन और इसको ये काम नहीं होता. अफसोस तो मुझे इसलिए है ना कि मैं खुद इस बीमारी का शिकार हूँ तो मुझे इसकी तकलीफ का पूरा अंदाजा है.
Musharraf is not the only casualty of the CIA vaccination cover operation. The CIA hired Dr. Shakil Afridi to run the fake vaccination campaign in Abbottabad, and when news of the doctor's eventual arrest and trial broke, all 200,000 polio vaccination workers in Pakistan were suddenly suspected of being spies. What has been the fallout from the situation where U.S. intelligence used the vaccination program as a cover, as a front, if you will? What's been the fallout from that?
We have seen the Taliban, who previously were not targeting vaccination workers, target vaccination workers saying they are part of a CIA plot. The
killings started in December 2012, during a bloody 2 days, 9 polio health workers were shot. And in January, another 9 were killed, along with a policeman protecting them. All told, 18 polio workers and 2 policemen have been assassinated in planned hits.
We still have refusals even where we are.
For Dr. Duri, who says Pakistan is the most dangerous place he has worked, the assaults were unprecedented.
This is a new thing that we have not seen this before. Violent resistance with what we are doing.
2 of the first victims in this onslaught were 18-year-old Madiha Bibi and her aunt, a mother of 4, Famida Bibi.
आज भी मुझे ये ज़हन में आता है कि ये कैसे हो गया हमारे साथ.
Their family told us how 2 men approached them on a motorbike and opened fire. Famida died instantly, while Madiha fled to a nearby home. The attackers followed and shot her in the face at close range.
टीम की 2 लड़कियां हैं, वो शहीद हो गई हैं. तो बस मैं इतना परेशान हो गई कि मेरे से बात भी नहीं हो रही. जो मेरी बेटी मुझे सबसे ज़्यादा प्यारी थी घर में. सब मुझे कहते हैं ना रो, मैं क्या करूं.
The slain woman's mother, a health worker herself, has been too upset by the assassinations to continue as a vaccinator, and she was not alone. After the killings, thousands of terrified polio workers refused to go to work, and vaccination drives halted. The Pakistani government scrambled to provide security for the workers, and several weeks later, the campaigns restarted. But only after tens of thousands of police officers were assigned to escort the health workers on their rounds.
They are superheroes. Most of them are mothers, most of them are sisters. But the fact that almost throughout the country, the campaign has been somehow, restarted. And for them to have that much of commitment, I don't have a word to how we can appreciate them. And really, they are heroes of, not only for Pakistan, but I think heroes for the world.
Despite the setbacks, there have been only 5 confirmed cases of polio in Pakistan this year, far fewer than last year at this time. And yet, Dr. Duri and the healthcare workers redouble their efforts because they know this insidious rumor and disease still fester in the alleyways. Usman learned the hard way that he was wrong to listen to rumor mongers and refuse vaccinations for his son. But he says the United States also bears some responsibility.
अगर एबटाबात वाक़या ना होता और वो अखबारों में पोस्टर ना छपते और हम तक इल्म नहीं आता, तो हम लोग वैक्सीनेशन और सही लगा रहे थे और सही अपनी रूटीन के मुताबिक लगे हुए थे.
But then can we check this room?
Yeah.
And Elias Duri says he'll be here in Pakistan, knocking on doors and handing out vaccines for as long as it takes.
What we do has to be done for those who sacrifice their life. It's not only for the children that we love. It's not only for the program that we say is important globally. It's also really important for those who lost their life. I think we really have to work harder so really that what they've died for is not in vain.